Welcome back to Satisfactory version 1, where we're really entering the endgame now. If you missed it in the last episode, I showed you my first endgame factory, meaning we're using to the full potential Mark 3 miners. We're ready to even use Mark 6 belt, even if we don't have them yet. We did that for silica and quartz crystal. And those quartz crystals are actually being delivered over here. You can see we have two drone ports. They are actually delivering both of them quartz crystal, and those quartz crystals are going into this gigantic factory over here, which is multi-level. There's, even below this glass here, you can have some factories. What are we making? We're making crystal oscillators. All of this over here is crystal oscillators. I'm going to show you how much in a second, and the recipes and whatnot. But what I did want to show you as we're starting is that this whole factory is using, of course, a bit of quartz crystal, like I just said. But apart from that, it is just using this miner here of iron, nothing else. That's crazy, right? And so I'm going to show you how we're doing this. Now, to make crystal oscillator, you basically have two ways. The normal ways in manufacture using quartz crystal, cables, and reinforced iron plates. And then you have a second ways, the insulated crystal oscillator recipe, alternate recipe, that is going to use rubber and AI limiter. Now, theoretically, you could say this one is better because it's using basically the same amount of quartz crystal to make almost double the crystal oscillator. But it is, instead of using just a bit of reinforced iron plate and just a bit of cable, using two way more advanced resources, right? Rubber that comes from oil and the AI limiter, which you can make many different ways, but it's more advanced. Like, I think we can all agree on this. So it is very hard to compare both of these, right? If you were to say, I'm really limited on quartz, then yes, this one is better. But apart from that, I wouldn't say this is really better. And especially in my case, I think, I really wanted to use this one here because this way I was able to make everything with just iron. Before I tell you how we're making this with just iron, let's take a quick look at what crystal oscillators are used for. They are going to be used for a couple of buildings, right? Like small boards, radar towers, the Explorer. It is also used for the Pulse Nobelis. But these ones, it's like, okay, you're going to use a bit of crystal oscillators when you build, but it's not like you're using them every minute. So I tend to ignore them for the purpose of planning. I focus on where you really need them. Where you really need them is radio control units for sure. You can see two recipes for the radio control units, and most of the recipes will use it there. There is one recipe for computer that uses it, and then there is the superposition oscillator. And in particular for the superposition oscillator, if you click on it, you will see this is the only recipe. So you won't have a choice when you want to make superposition oscillator, and you're going to want to make some, by the way, for the phase 5 of AI expansion server, and maybe also a bit for alien parametrics. You're going to need some. You're also, as I said, going to need some for the radio control unit and potentially for computers. This is important because this is how I actually plan how much do I need, right? Do I need only 10 per minute? Do I need 20? Do I need 500? Right? You need to see a bit into the future and not just today. So let's move as always to my Excel, and you can see over here my plan. My plan was actually to build 50 crystal oscillators. This is what we're gonna do in this episode. Why 50? Because I'm planning around 10 for the radio control unit, around 20 for the superposition oscillator, and 20 for computers. So this is 50 as of now. Maybe we will need a bit more, a bit less, but it's a good target. So this 50 crystal oscillator, that means, first of all, 50 manufacturers, even if we're going to be able to do it with less, with a small trick. We have the quartz crystal, all right, 900 of them. So that is why we know we need definitely 2 of these drone ports to deliver 900. We need 700 cables, and we need 125 reinforced iron plates. To do all of this, we're going to use a couple of different recipes. For the reinforced iron plate, you have multiple recipes that you can see over here. Now, there is, again, you could say, oh, this one is better or that one is better. Realistically, I've done the calculation and I can tell you which one is better. We're going to ignore the second one because it takes rubber, and rubber is a pain to make, in my opinion, and is also not making that much, only 3.75 per minute. So let's ignore this one, but let's compare the other ones. You have first 2 recipes that are using iron plate and screws. This is the same, it's just different numbers. And you can actually see it is making 3 times more, but actually it is using 3 times the amount of iron plates, but it's using more than 3 times the amount of screws. So it is not good in terms of efficiency. The only thing good here is basically you're gonna need less assemblers, but that's not as good. Then we have a last one, which is iron plate and wires. In terms of the iron plate, it is using a lot less, right? Because we're going to make 5.6 instead of 5, but we're using half basically of the iron plates. And then instead of screws, we're using wires. So what I've done is then I've converted those wires into iron ingots, and same for the screws, based on this alternate recipe over here, which is making wires out of iron ingot. And again, basically, this is how we're going to make the whole thing with iron, because you do have this alternate recipe. Now, I'm not saying this alternate recipe is perfect. You may want to just use copper and do the normal recipe, but this was my way of using only iron. And with this, again, we're converting, and basically we can see that this final recipe over here is only using 8.7 iron ingots to make one reinforced iron plate, versus the basic recipe is using 12 iron ingots. So yeah, this final recipe, the stitched iron plate, is the one we're going to go for. It's the best in my opinion. We're going to make, as I said, the iron ingot, the wires out of iron ingots, the iron plate out of iron ingots. We're also going to make more wires for this recipe to then transform into cables. And this is how we're getting, to making only iron. And for the iron ingot, you could use the basic recipe if you want, but I think it's a lot better to use this alternate recipe in the refinery, so that by adding a bit of water, which frankly is like the most unlimited resource of the game, you have more iron ingots out of iron ore. We will still need quite a lot, more than 1,000 iron ore to make almost 2,000 iron ingots. So I know it's a lot, but yeah, with this, we're going to be able to make 50 crystal oscillators, which should get me completely to the end of the game. So I'm excited to show you. Let's dive right into the game. So as I've said already, let's start here at the iron deposit. There's actually quite a few iron deposits over here. I have collected 3, but there's also 3 more behind. So you have tons of iron. This is, by the way, also the switch for the factory if we need to turn it down. These are normal nodes, not pure nodes. So at Mark 3, fully overclock, we're talking about 600. This is perfect for my Mark 5 belts, right? We have a second one over here, and we have a third one here. So we're making 600, 600, and 600 for each of these. They are going to go into the factory, but we're not going to use them all. We're going to start with one here, and then we're going to have a second one there, because remember, we need basically 1,000, a bit more than 1,000. So 600 plus 600 is enough. This third one we're not using yet. We have then over here all of the splitters, right, that are going to put the iron ore, and same over here, splitters, iron ore, and we have the iron ingots that are coming down, and we have the water also going up. The water is coming from here. We have these water extractors, right? We need, I don't remember exactly what it is. I think it's 300, so, I have one slightly overclocked and one not overclocked. They go over here and they go there. There is a pump. Here it is. There's a pump. So that way it can go up. Going up, we can see those lines of refineries. We have those refineries with the iron ore and water making the iron ingot. You can see they're working at 100%. They're all green. I love a factory like this where it's fully green. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. 17 with, again, the water over here, the iron ore, right? And on the other side, we have the iron ingot that goes down. They're all working, and we double that. So then we have the iron ingots, right, coming out. And those iron ingots, so I do need to show you, is we're producing a lot of iron ingots, right? Because this is 65 for each. So if there was only one belt, that would be too much for my Mark 5. So we actually have 2 belts for each. You will see it, oops, sorry, over here. There are some that are going down on this side and some that are going down on that side. We have over here, and actually I feel like, didn't I write the numbers? I felt like I wrote the numbers somewhere. But anyway, I can guarantee you the numbers makes sense. Then they're going to go into, first over here, we have quite a lot of constructors for iron plates. Again, they're all green, working at 100%. We're making tons of iron plates. In the middle, we have the splitter. On the outside, we have the mergers. It's all merged, and then it's gonna go into factories over here. This is the first thing we're doing with, some of these iron ingots. And by the way, all of them, they have, a smart splitter that also then goes into those awesome sink. This is the one for the second. And then we have the same on the other side, right? 1 and 2, with the exact same sort of thinking here, where we're splitting some on this side, some on that side. Again, I'm pretty sure I put how much we're producing, but somehow I don't see those numbers. Then we're gonna have this belt here of ingots is going into all of those constructors, which are making wires, but wires that are going directly into those assemblers, versus the other 2 belts of ingots are going into those other constructors here. You can see one belt here, one belt there. They are also making wires, but these are all of the wires that are going to be transformed into cables. So they are split so that, it's exactly the right numbers. I think these ones are not working on 100% just because I'm overproducing somehow. but this is definitely working perfectly. You can see all of those wires again going now into these assemblers. These assemblers are doing the reinforced iron plate with the alternate recipe we mentioned. We have quite a lot of them. Again, I'm not going to go through the exact numbers. I'll show you in my Excel in a second, but you can see one of them overclocked over here just because I didn't have the space to put one more with the terrain. But yeah, that's the pretty simple, where we have the iron plates at the bottom that are going through all of those elevators and the wires here. And then same on this side, we have the wires here and all of the elevators for the iron ingots. And then in the middle, we have the merger of all of the iron plates. See, iron plates, iron plates, iron plates, reinforced iron plates, sorry, reinforced iron plates, because here it's merged. We're making actually 135 per minute. We only need 125. So we have the awesome sink there too. And then, as I mentioned, on that side, we're making tons of cables, because first tons of wires. I remember I did put the numbers there too, so let's check them out quickly. You can see all of those wires. It's crazy how it's working perfectly. 600 and something, 405, 405, and it goes all the way over here, and then goes into these cables, which obviously are right size, so that this is exactly the amount of wires that we need, right? So cables, 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 then it's all merged over here, and we are making basically what we need. I think just a bit more, like here it is. We're making 708.75, and we need, what is it, 700. We needed 700 exactly. So that's why there's a few that are going to the awesome sink. And then this is going up here. Same for the reinforced iron plate, right? Going over here, going there, and with all of the quartz. All of the quartz crystal, they're going over here. And then this is this mini bus here with all of the manufacturers. Now those manufacturers, you can see they are blue because they are overclocked. I'm overclocking them each with 2 power shards so that they produce exactly at 200%. So both the inputs and the outputs are increased, right? It's not like the Summers loop that only increase the output. This is both input and output. The only reason to do this is basically instead of building 50 manufacturer, which is a lot of manufacturer, it's a lot of belt, etc., I only have to build 25 of them basically, right? And this is why you can see actually we have 2 lines plus 1. And yeah, as I mentioned before, for the quartz crystal, we need 900 in total. So 1 belt was not enough. This is why we have a second belt on top that is used by a couple of manufacturers on this side, while all the other manufacturers are using the one in the middle. We are over here, working on 100%, as you can see, taking this quartz crystal cable and reinforced iron plates, and then merging on the outside. And all of those crystal utilizators are merged over here, and we're gonna have a couple of smart splitters, on something, of course, if at some point we ever get full. I don't think we're gonna get there right now, but at some point for sure, because I'm producing, we said, 50 right now, which is some for computers, some for radio control unit, and some for super oscillators, and I'm not making super oscillators right now. So yeah, we should get full at some point, but awesome thing here, dimensional depot to make sure, I can access some whenever I'm, wherever I am. There is a storage container there that is full, and it actually does continue this way into something. This is a surprise. Don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you know where this is going. And then lastly, we have a drone port here with quite a bit of crystal oscillators, but as you can see, it's not full because there is a drone that is already starting to use it. So that is the crystal oscillators. Let me again re-show you quickly on the Excel the numbers, but yeah, it's so great to see green everywhere. Love it. So first of all, we want 125 reinforced iron plates. This is gonna take 22.2 assemblers. I actually built 23. This is why we have a bit more of reinforced iron plates. This is going to consume more than 400 of the iron plates and more than 800 of wire. So we had to build this with quite a lot, of those constructors here, right? More than 37 constructors for the wires, just for iron plates, reinforced iron plates, and more than 20 constructors for the actual iron plates. Then on top of this, we need 700 of cables, right? 700 of cables actually means 1,400 of wires. So that was basically more than 60 constructors there for this, and then more than 20 for the actual cables. And then last but not least, we have 25 manufacturers that have overclock at 200%, so that it is the equivalent of 50 manufacturers to make 50 crystal oscillators. So crystal oscillator is done. Next we can move to the aluminum casing. It's not really anything new, we've done it in the past, so that's why I'm also going to put it into this episode. And in the next episode, we can really move into the last sort of break with computers, radio control units, and making sure that our plutonium factory is now 100% efficient. So looking at the map, we just look at the crystal oscillator factory that is over here, next to my iron and a bit of water. We have looked in the previous episode at the quartz and silica factory that was over here. And you may have realized there is another hub over here with quite a few drones. This is where we're going to do the bauxite. There is actually one bauxite. There's also, coal here. There's more bauxite in the north if we ever need to. So it's a great place. Let's go to it. And here we are. There's quite a few things happening, especially below it. You may not see it, but below it, there is a lot. Now, this is actually the end where you can see 2 drone ports that are sending those aluminum casing. It's working 100% right now. Like you can see, it's not full. They're definitely going, but there's some reserves. It seems to be working totally fine. We do need, as always, some fuel. So we have the turbo fuel that's coming here, delivered by these drone ports. It's coming, again all from the same place over here, right? We're sending some of this fuel here, and it's used by the 2 drone ports, plus a third one here. Now you may remember a couple of episodes ago I mentioned we are making slightly less than what we need in terms of uranium, because we are producing 300 of uranium into our uranium factory over here. It's an impure node, fully overclocked Mark III, so that's 300, and we are using 150 for the uranium plant, 9 overclocked power plants. And then to treat the waste, we're making 180 of waste. To treat this waste, we need 180 of uranium. So we're basically missing 30. Right? So there was a uranium node not too far. You can see it over here. So I thought, why not? I'm just belting it here and sending it through this drone to our nuclear refinement factory. And I guess while we're here, let's go, from here and go, from the end to the start. Right? So we always have, this is off, sorry, my bad. We do have it ready. So we have an awesome sink ready, right, just in case this is full. But first we want those 2 things. And I'm producing exactly what we need, so it should never actually get full. We are making those casing in these constructors. We have 8 constructors, each making 60. Now, for those of you that are paying attention, 8 times 60, that's 480. That's the total we're making in this factory. That is using 720 of aluminum ingots. So that works with just 1 Mark V belt, because 1 Mark V belt is limited to 780. It does require 12 foundries to make this, right? 12 foundries that are going to use 1,800 of scrap. That's a lot. As well as 900 silica. So this is where we're starting to use, the silica that we made in the previous episode. Then we're going to have 3 refineries that are making this scrap over here, using also a bit of water, a bit of water, using coal and alumina solution. This alumina solution is also made into 3 refineries. This is the alternate recipe, where you're using bauxite and water to make just alumina solution, no silica. I know you could argue that, given that I'm using this recipe here, maybe I should use it, but it's fine. We've talked about silica in the past. I think let's not go back to it. This is the factory. So it's not that many, but it is, a few interesting resources. And there is also, you have to make sure that you deal with the water backflow over here, which is basically you need to make sure that you're not bringing too much water into it, and you have this water that is prioritized. Yeah, the ingot is coming from here. That's easy. And if you look down, you'll see this is this belt here that is merged between, all of these foundries. Right, we can follow it around. It's going all around these foundries. There was this thing here a bit in the way, but we managed to go around. And then in terms of the resources, we have the silica at the top, and we have the scrap coming from the bottom. So the silica is these 2 here. This is 900, remember, so that's why we need 2 belts coming with 2 drone ports. These are the 2 drone ports coming from our old factory. Right? They're actually not going that far. You could argue I should have just belted it. It is, you can see it, it's basically over here, there. But yeah, I just use the drone, it's fine. And then below is where the scrap is coming from. Right? So we're gonna start going below, and we're gonna see all of this. So the scrap here, now this is more than 1,000. So, we have actually 3 of these that are then split to 4 each. 1, 2, 3, 4 for that belt. Then this belt here is going 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then this belt here is going 1, 2, 3, and 4. because again, this is the exact ratio. Each of these is coming from one refinery. One refinery is making 360. 360 you divide it by 4, you get exactly the 90, which is one of the foundry. So yeah, the foundry coming from those three, right, over here, where we're gonna have the alumina solution and coal making aluminum scrap and water. We need to make sure that we deal with the water. So how are we dealing with the water? By sending it back down, as you can see there, right, while the scrap is sent up. We send the water back down, the alumina solution is going just directly here, right, that's easy. And then we have the coal also coming from down. So let's see down what is happening. We have indeed the water here flowing back and flowing down. So because it's flowing down, it's going to be the one that's prioritized. And we have, the rest of the water coming from here, from this water production slightly overclocked. A pump here to make sure it can go up, right? The coal is here. It's actually coming from there. This is this belt of coal here, going there, going down, and then being sent up. And the bauxite is this one here, which you may have seen already from the start. Is that one, that miner here. Overclock goes here, goes down, and done. So yeah, 3 refineries here for the first alternate recipe, 3 refineries here for the normal one. Then we get into the foundry for the normal recipe, and then we have the constructors for the normal recipe once more. So not the most efficient we've ever done, not the prettiest for sure, but it works, and it's making 480 of aluminum casing. Can you guess where they're gonna be used? Don't hesitate to put it in the comments below. I hope this episode has been helpful, in particular to show you how to make a lot of crystal oscillator, to plan that properly. In the next one, I'm gonna show you the best recipe for computers. You'll probably be surprised there. We're gonna do a lot of radio control units, and most importantly, relook at our nuclear basically factory, and in particular on the plutonium part. Hopefully our waste should start to go down, and we can also start putting a lot of our new nuclear factory on for plutonium. Thank you for watching, smash like button, and I hope to see you next time.